We say things that don't mean anything, but thanks for listening. Yeah. Hello, everybody. Welcome to We Say Things, episode 31, sponsored by absolutely nobody and their mother. My name is SUNSfan. Joining me, as always, is the great syndereN. How are you? And how is your dog Onion doing, my friend?
Don't call it Onion. It's not called Onion.
Yes,
it's called
it is.
Lloyd. No, it's called Lloyd. See,
I can't pronounce
it doesn't work. It just doesn't work the same way when you translate. It doesn't sound good. Like Onion is just not a good dog name, but Lloyd is, even though they mean the same thing. Does that make sense to you?
It does. It does. It's hard for me to pronounce Lloyd.
That's okay. Think about loyalty. Think about loyalty as a word, and then you just say Loy. Then you're pretty close.
I don't know anything about that word, honestly.
Okay, think about a ploy to take over something, and then you just keep the P out, and you say Loy. Yeah, that's good enough. You know, that's pretty close. You just say it fast. Try to say it fast. Try to say it fast. Instead of Loy, you say Loy.
Hold on. Trolls. Did I get that right?
It's better.
Trolls.
But it's not great.
Trolls.
No American can say my name.
All right.
It's fine.
So before we get started,
things are going better with the dog. When we talked last, which day was that? Was that the Wednesday? So that was the day after I got the dog, right?
Yeah, but we didn't talk about
Wednesday
it since we were doing our patch analysis.
Yeah, we quickly mentioned it before we got started, I think, or something. I don't even know if we did, but yeah, it's going really great, honestly. I don't know if you want a little rundown of it before we get started with stuff. So
I love hearing this shit.
I think this is something that's pretty unique, actually. So we got the dog at 8 weeks old from the breeder, and it is completely potty trained. That was not what we expected, and that is not the norm. Good. I will guarantee you that. We have actually been completely able to... It's been a week now, so I can say it with pretty high confidence that the dog knows that it only pees and poos outside after 8 weeks, which is very special as far as I know. So that's amazing. It's also been desensitized very well against noise, so it doesn't get worked up over that. There's definitely things to work on, of course. It's not like it's a wonder dog and it knows everything, but it's been really pleasant surprises for us. And now I see chat saying buying from a breeder Dan's game. I'm guessing they're not from Denmark. In Denmark, it's very different, actually. I know in the US, most people, or it's encouraged to get animals from shelters.
Yeah.
But in Denmark, it just isn't that way. We don't have these big shelters with rescued animals that need a home. I just think our system is
surplus of animals.
Different. There's only very few in shelters, and I believe it is mainly dogs that have... I shouldn't be speaking about this because I'm not an expert. I should have asked Susie because she told me about this. But yeah, anyway, it's very different in Denmark. So if you're from America and it sounds weird, then just know that the norm in Denmark is very different, and this is completely normal. Okay, that's enough about the dog. Let's talk about dotes.
Well, I was going to ask you, at what age were you potty trained?
Oh,
were you a late bloomer?
16. Actually, no, I'm still not potty trained. I still take a dump on people regularly.
In game, of course, yes.
Yes. Yeah. That's not outside though, or in the toilet.
In terms of people pee the bed later in life sometimes, or not later. Well, obviously when you're old, you need diapers or whatever. But I was a late bloomer in terms of peeing the bed, for sure. I can't remember how old I was, but I was probably
25.
First or second grade. Is that normal? Third grade, maybe. I don't know. It was to the point where
8
they had
years old.
Okay, maybe older. It was definitely past the average age, to the point where my mom had to put a trash bag under, I'd basically be sleeping on a trash bag because I would wake up in the middle of the night and need to pee. But this is the thing that's interesting, right? A lot of people just pee and they don't even realize. I knew what I was doing, syndereN. I was too lazy to get out of bed to go pee. I'm like, I'll just sit in my own urine tonight. It's no big deal. It's nice and warm.
That's so you, actually. It's unbelievable. It's funny how, people talk about, your personality and what person you really are shapes in your teenage years. You fucking knew when you were 7 who you were going to be. That's very clear. You're like, when I grow up, I want to talk about shit while sitting in my own piss. There you go.
It all worked out, Yeah, let's go over a couple reviews, if you don't mind, Synderman. You can take the first one, I guess. I can take the other two, since you're lazy.
Okay. Sure. I'll do the first one. Smart Pipe AI and Phoenix Suns. What's the Smart Pipe? From Ungers Crambo from Hungary. Oh, that's the first Hungarian one, I think. So recently I've been listening to multiple podcasts such as Artificial Intelligence with Lex Friedman, or Friedman, I don't know if it's misspelled, and We Say Things with You guys. In the morning I was listening to Michio Kaku and how he talks about whether we reach the tier 1 level on the Kasharef scale, and the next moment I am deeply into how one of the CS greats talks about Popeye's chicken sandwich conquering the US. Truly remarkable. Keep up, guys. And SUNSfan, look up Smart Pipe. Could be useful. For Sin, mange tak. That means thank you very much in Danish. Are you planning to put together a team this season? Looking forward to it. I'm hoping to play competitively at the start of next year. Whether it's a team I put together myself, I don't know yet. But I definitely still want to play. So,
great.
Cool.
Thank you for
very
that
much.
Beautiful review. Next, we have Captain GG from Canada. Horsepower. I've been listening to this since day one and love every minute. Keep up the good work, guys. SUNSfan, give up on reminding syndereN to watch In Bruges. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink it. Sin, get off your high horse and watch this damn movie already. Beyond that,
this doesn't make sense. Listen. He just told you to give up on telling me to go do it, and then the next sentence he tells me to watch the movie. Which one will it be?
He's telling you, not me telling you. It actually is correct. Beyond that, I love the segments where you guys tier things. How often is that one thing can get the list of the best fruits or fast foods straight from the horse's mouth? For that, I felt I owed you a 5-star review. Hold your horses. The only way to rate you is on Apple. Super irritating. I agree, but I guess I shouldn't look a gift horse in the mouth. Fuck. Especially after you've after all you've done for us. Some of this comes up weird on my screen. Some symbols. I wish Spotify would implement a way to rate your podcast so I didn't have to sign up for Apple. But at this point, I guess that would just be closing the stable door after the horse has bolted. Horse. Thank you, friend. Thanks for the reviews as always, guys. We've been getting a ton that we can't get to because there's just too many. Okay. So news of the week. Before we get started on Dota-related stuff, this is Dota-related. syndereN and I will be casting on December 5th and 6th.
Yeah.
The WePlay qualifiers for the EU division. We don't know what teams, but we will be casting. I will have to wake up at 5 in the morning, so I never want to hear syndereN complain again about waking up at 10:30.
You're already awake at 5. You're just extending your day.
Extending it a lot. That's like 12 hours. What does that even mean? That's my nighttime, my beddy by time. And now it has to be when I wake up. So
yeah, that's a hardcore sacrifice. You're really committed to this.
If it was 3 days, honestly, I wouldn't have done it, syndereN. But
right.
2 days.
2 days you'll do for me.
I can handle it.
I really appreciate that.
It's going to be a real shit show. If you guys want to watch it, be sure to tune in because I haven't cast in feels like years at this point. Good God. Probably don't remember half the spell names.
But you
honestly
probably play more Dota now than you did last you cast.
Yeah, that's true. I'm playing a lot of Dota, which we'll get to in a moment.
So
yes.
Yeah, so did you mention it's the minor qualifiers, or did you just say it was the WePlay qualifiers? Because it is the minor, obviously. And the reason we don't know the teams is that we need to see the outcome of the major qualifiers first, which is running right now. Yeah,
that's right.
But should be good. 5th and 6th of December. Check it out. That'll be... I don't remember how many slots Europe gets in the minor. I'm going to say 2, but it might only be 1. I think it's 2.
But I'm excited because it's a new patch. Things are crazy. We can talk about neutral items for probably like 8 hours straight. So in terms of like downtime during the cast, there's going to be none of it. I can talk about Fallen Sky forever. Holy shit. We'll get to that in a second. But first, a few patches came out, syndereN. 6.323A, 6.23B.
That's
and then
a 7,
go over...
SUNSfan. You wrote it correctly. Why are you reading 6 when it clearly says 7?
Did I say 6?
You said 6 both times.
6.23A. We've gone back in time. Troll
when
Juggernaut.
Was that actually?
I don't know.
That is more than 10 years ago.
That's
more.
Actually, around the time I started Dota, it was around 6.2 something. Yeah. 7.23 A and B, and then for some reason a Void Spirit update essentially that does not count as an A or a B or a C, which I find interesting. Let's start with 6.23A. Did you find anything in here that was worth mentioning? I think for me, the first thing was Mirror Shield, which we talked about potentially being extremely overpowered. now
Yeah.
has been changed to have a 75% chance to proc and a 4-second cooldown, which is the bigger deal. Sorry,
Yeah,
no
and
longer has a
beforehand
75% chance. So 100% chance.
Yeah, so it's a guaranteed block. I'm a much bigger fan of this kind of item design on this stuff where you know what the outcome is. I don't have a problem with chance. I don't have a problem with pseudo RNG in particular, but um, when there's 3/4 of a chance that you block every spell, it becomes a problem because then you're just not favored to cast spells at all. So why would you? Like mathematically, it's better to not cast Bane ulti ever on the guy, and that's
It was
just bad.
so weird that they
Now
put that in,
you can
though,
play
right?
around it. Yeah, I don't know how that ever made it in. To be honest with you, I just think it was bad design. But the new one is pretty cool because now it's a guaranteed thing. You need to gauge the pros and cons of it. You know that the first spell you cast will be reflected on you and blocked, like Lincoln's plus Lotus. But then you also know that if you place a trash spell on them, you have 4 seconds to get a good one off. So again, using the Great Bane example, the Bane can choose to Brain Sap first, take some damage, and then get grip off. Or he can cast Nightmare. I think he can take that off himself. I'm actually
Yes. He can.
I don't know if he can when it's cast on a Lotus.
He should be able
because
to.
then the other guy casts it. But yeah, anyway, you get the idea.
It's similar to
of the
Rubik
logic.
interaction, unless they change something, because Rubik is kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah, man, there's a lot of, even if it used to work, it might be different against Mirror Shield. Like, you never know. It's a bit weird.
Yeah,
anyway.
true.
Well, I think the main thing for me to highlight is that they changed the item system in this in this patch. The main thing that stood out to me was that they changed it so that you can only get 3 item drops per tier, whereas before there was no limit, as far as I know. The chance just got absurdly low toward the later portion.
Yeah.
And by capping it at 3, what you effectively do is you make it way more likely that the 2 teams will have the same number of items. And in that way, you kind of reduce the RNG of somebody just getting very lucky and getting 4th, 5th, 6th item on pseudo RNG. The problem with this, however, is that when you have less items per tier, per team in the game, it's even more important that the items are balanced around being similarly strong. This is not about how good the items are relative to the game itself or relative to items you can purchase. It's relative to the tier that they can drop in. Because now that you're capped at 3, imagine there's 3 bad items and 6 good ones, just to make it simple. If you get the 3 bad ones, that's just shit, you know? You can't try to obtain the good ones. Apart from that, they changed the drop period a little bit. Don't want to go too much into detail on it. And then they changed the drop rate, which is really important, that it went from 10.5 2.5 to 9.6 3. So the later items, except the first one, are easier to obtain. And that makes it, again, more likely at this time in the game, you have control of your own jungle. So it's overwhelmingly likely that with a bit of effort, you will get 3 items relatively fast on both teams. So that's good. It feels less RNG.
We'll talk we'll talk more after this couple segments about what we think of the patch, by the way, guys, just including the item system. So I don't want to go too into detail on that. But one thing I will say with this change, it de-incentivizes jungling, right? Because you get your limit, then you don't, like, jungling doesn't benefit you more than it normally would.
Did before,
point,
yes,
right?
correctly. Yeah.
So that, compared to the original system, I like more because of that fact, especially in the lower tier games where, you know, people will just be jungling the entire game because that's just what they like to do. A couple items.
Yeah. I just quickly wanted to mention, we don't have to go into detail with what they changed on heroes, but basically what they did, they looked at, okay, for these first few days, what heroes got really high win rates and what heroes got really low win rates. And then they're just like, okay, insta tweak. They do this every time there's a new big patch. 2 days after, high win rates get nerfed and low win rates get buffed. So
right. So Snapfire got a buff and Void Spirit, I was very surprised, got a buff. We'll talk about that as
His
well.
His win rate wasn't very good. I think it was after this patch.
Yeah, but anyway, we'll get to that in a second. But a couple items that were also changed. Tome of Aghanim no longer exists, which I'm very sad about because I didn't get to actually try it out myself. Phoenix Ash used to give 30 stats. It no longer does, and it only heals for 50% instead of 100%. So that got a major nerf.
Mega nerf.
And another item that...
I mean, the refreshing change could be cool on some heroes. I think it has a different strategic element to it now.
Right, so mention what that is, by the way, for people that don't know.
Yeah.
Now refreshes your non-ultimate abilities.
Exactly. So when Phoenix... It's the same as if you come out of a Phoenix Egg, basically. The supernova from Phoenix in the game. All your non-ulti cooldowns get refreshed. So in late game on some heroes, this can be really interesting. Like Lone Druid, you can get another Bear Summon. Undying, you can get another Tombstone. Invoker, all your spells are ready again. There are plays with this that can get really interesting. But for the vast majority of heroes, this is a big nerf.
It's situational,
but it's cool
for sure.
Yeah.
Last item that I'll mention, just because it's something, it was one of our trivia questions, the Leveler. Remember the original item that back in Dota 1 was deleted? It was one of the few items ever deleted. Now they're all in the game at this point with Arcane Ring and obviously the more recent deleted items. But it used to give Demolish, which I think was called siege damage back then specifically. Now no longer has a cleave or splash effect, but has 25% Demolish, the Leveler. So back to its original roots, which at first I was like, holy crap, that's amazing. But then I looked at Tiny. He gets like, with the tree, I think 140% Demolish, I want to say, off the top of my head. It's very high.
Tiny is a very special case. I saw Sven last night in a match with the Leveler.
Mm-hmm.
He fucking smashed towers. It was no joke. He also had ridiculous damage, obviously, but you feel it. I kind of have a feeling this number might get increased from 25%. How much does Lone Druid's Bear have?
Way more than 25%.
I'm going to find it.
Not only his Bear now, either. Both of them.
Oh, yeah. I haven't looked too much into this hero, so... Oh, it doesn't say here what the Demolish percentage is. I'm sure somebody in chat knows.
It's high.
Oh, it doesn't seem like... It's very big, Demolish.
Very, very
my
big.
gut says 40%, but that's off old memory. So, yeah.
Not sure.
Anyway.
So, yeah, a lot of items were changed, which, we were kind of expecting. Heroes tweaked as well, like you said. And then we go to 7.23b, which is basically the next day. Tier 1 items now drop at 7 minutes instead of 5. So I believe it's 7, 15, 25, 40, and 70, if I'm not mistaken, for the tiers. Anything in this patch that you think is worth mentioning? I think the first thing that comes to mind for me, because I had some amazing games with Sven, is Titan Sliver. That item used to give 22% attack damage, magic resist, and status. Now it's 16 instead of 22, so a sizable nerf, which was definitely needed. Philosopher's Stone also lowered the gold per minute from 75 to 60. That was a pretty popular one. Anything jump out to you?
Well, clearly they're trying to balance the items within the same tiers, and they're mainly focusing on the first 3 or 4 tiers. Mainly the first 3, really, which I think is the way to go for now. That's the more important stuff, because this is what affects every game. Every game will have 2 item tiers minimum. A really short game will end before minute 25, right? But most games go beyond that. So you want to try to balance the items within the tiers, and the ones that really stand out to me that were maybe too weak or too good, Titan Sliver was definitely too good. I would say Trusty Shovel was too good, and then they changed it so the chance of getting bounty runes is way lower. Mm-hmm. It has lower cooldown now, so it's more fun when you can dig more often, but the really good drop in the bounty rune got reduced significantly. Outside of that, Third Eye, I always found a little bit underwhelming, just because, yes, you get the gem and you get the vision, but there's no... It's an item slot, right, at this point in the game. Now it gives 7 all stats, which is a nice boost to the generally support that will be carrying this item. Yeah, apart from that, some small changes. Vampire Fangs were also too good.
One thing we should definitely mention, Mindbreaker was reworked. So now it has a passive cooldown. Yeah. Passively provides 25 attack speed and 25 magic damage on your attacks, which, if you remember the item that I really want added to the game, syndereN from Han, changes your physical attacks to magical.
Harkin's Blade.
That's right. It's not quite the same, but in the same category. And the next attack against a hero silences them for 4 seconds with a 20-second cooldown.
This item...
It's really
good.
Used to be like a diffusal.
You have the other one. Yeah, and the other one was maybe considered too good or too niche. Like there were very few heroes that the old one was really good on, and the rest it wasn't so very good. So they're trying to make the item more appealing broadly across way more heroes, which they have definitely done. But again, when you do that, you take your chance on balance, and you need to see it play out. I think this item's too good. That's my opinion. I think this item is too good right now.
I mean, if you think about it, syndereN, and we'll get to this again when we talk more in detail about the item system, but when there's items that you have to know the enemy has at this stage of the game, which is still relatively early, right? That's the issue that I have. Like, if they get a keen optic, they get Philosopher's Stone, Pupil's Gift, these things that give stats. Maybe some of them have like some small ability. They're not game breaking. Mindbreaker is game breaking. If you don't know somebody has a silence and it just dropped randomly in the jungle, that's different than you getting an Orchid, right? So that's the issue that I have.
I was going to compare it to an Orchid reveal where you're like, you know the enemy is building it, but you don't know when it's coming. This one, you have like no clue at all. And it's not just the silence. The silence itself is really good, right? It's 4-second target silence on your attack. So based on which hero you're playing, this could be more or less instant. If you're playing a melee hero that has a mobility spell, like let's say Anti-Mage to make it easy, you blink on top of someone, then they're just silenced instantly when you hit them. You just burn them out.
Or just out of like blink, just a normal blink dagger, or Lothar's, for example.
Yeah, out of fog. If you're playing sniper, you're just suddenly silenced by a random pellet, you know? It's on top of this, it gives 25 attack speed and 25 magic damage on attacks. This item is really fucking good. Any hero that has good attack speed already just gets a big damage boost out of the magic damage. And it's really convenient, I think, for a lot of heroes that have high physical damage. It's actually very nice to get a magic damage component because it makes it harder to itemize against you. Just buying armor that you usually do a lot against physical carries doesn't counter this item. So it all adds up. I'm sure this will get nerfed. It's just way too good.
Yep,
the way I agree. Just way too good.
So a bunch of heroes also got some tweaks as well. And the main one that I want to talk about, syndereN, is Lifestealer. My lord. It used to give just his Infest without Aghanim Scepter or anything 100% move speed to allies, which is max move speed.
Wait,
did it unlock?
Are you sure?
Well, if they have
wasn't it like 30, 40, 50 or something move speed? Like was it 100%? Actually?
Am I crazy? I think they nerfed it to 50.
Way too absurd to get into the game. Like that is fucking bonkers.
Wait, maybe what am I thinking of? That was 100. Oh no, you're right. It was 50. Now that I think about it, it was 50%.
30, 40, 50, I think, which is still insane. It's super high. 30%
Did they not
move
change
speed
that?
is crazy.
Am I crazy? They didn't change that? Is it still the same?
I think they might have nerfed it in the A patch.
I'm sorry. Infest movement speed for heroes is now the same as creep bonus, so it's half. So it's 25%, I believe, at the highest level, which is a huge nerf to the Lifestealer support. Right. And then also, people were buying Aghanim Scepter nonstop because every time you would jump in a hero, it would give rage, which doesn't give attack speed anymore. It's just like the BKB essentially. Some movement speed as well, which is random. But now it doesn't go. The cooldown doesn't begin until you have exited the target now. So you can't get like a guaranteed BKB. It has to be some timing relating to it, which is much harder to do. And I don't even know if it's viable anymore. I was pretty skeptical, I'm not going to lie, when I first read the Aghanim Scepter, but it was OP. Super OP.
Yeah.
Do you think support Lifestealer is dead? Or
if it is, I will say good riddance. I don't feel like it was... I mean, in a way it was fun, but is it really good hero design to just have you sit inside another hero and they just play and you empower them? Like, the difference... I think the best parallel I can draw to this is IO, right? Where you could argue that, at least historically, IO was way more about making the ally strong than being powerful himself. But there was always the risk of you being a target, right? Like you could get countered, or you still had to play positioning and outskill your opponents with clever usage of your other spells. Lifestealer was literally go inside an enemy and make a cup of coffee. You know, like is that interesting gameplay? Is it fun? I think it's nice that the option is there. That's the point. I think what they're trying to do here is make plays, like make it be an option that you can, in the heat of the moment, do something cool, like sundering a teammate with Terrorblade, right? To keep them alive. This is like, oh, I'm a carry Lifestealer, or I am a support, whatever you are. In this moment, I can actually do something crazy by infesting my teammate. That's cool. That's a fun option to have, and it makes gameplay interesting. What doesn't is when it's like just mandatory to just sit inside somebody, right? Like that doesn't seem very fun. So what I hope this change does is that it doesn't take that aspect away, because I think it's a fun idea that you can infest allies and do this stuff and have this impact on the game. I just don't want the truck driver. You know, that's not.
I think
Interesting.
the two heroes that come to mind that were, I'm sure there's a couple more, obviously way more than that actually. Leshrac seemed redonkulous, and Sven seemed
Absolutely busted with this.
redonkulous with the Lifestealer
Yeah.
Infest. So glad that is nerfed heavily. I agree, though. I would like to see some variation of this still be somewhat viable, just because it's new. I mean, this is honestly a lot of this stuff, and if I said this like 4 or 5 years ago, people would get triggered. But now I don't think they are. These are all ideas from Heroes of New Earth. There's a hero that called Parasite, actually, ironically enough, with Slax's god awful idea. But Parasite from Han, the idea, he was a support hero that infested, essentially. You'd buy Dagon and stuff like that. Very annoying. And a lot of times you just stay inside of a neutral or inside of a hero for a very long period. So that is 7.23b. There was also an update today, nerfing Void Spirit finally, which, just to give you a quick rundown, Dissimulate was slightly nerfed in terms of damage by 20 at all levels. Cooldown was increased by 2. Mana cost slightly increased by 10 at all levels. And I think the big one, the level 15 talent, reduced it from 150 resonant pulse damage, which is his E, I believe.
Should also mention that the cooldown
100.
and mana cost you just talked about was also that spell. Dissimulate lost 20 damage, but Resonant Pulse got a cooldown increase and Resonant Pulse got a mana cost increase. So that's the spell that got nerfed the most, clearly.
Yes.
And that is the one that gives him physical block and AoE damage.
Right. Felt really good. So he had a 60% win rate last I checked at pretty much all levels. Snapfire is about at 50%. So let's talk about our impressions of the patch, and we can start with the new heroes. I want to hear what you have to say first, because I have some very strong thoughts.
I think Void Spirit looks... The thing about all these Spirit heroes, actually every single one of them, is that the type of gameplay that they promote, I think, is really appealing to watch. It's always fun when people are mobile, when they do flashy stuff, when they can outskill opponents by being, it's the type of hero, in my opinion, Void Spirit is the type of hero that's a bit difficult to balance in the start, because an expert of the hero will just look super broken. Because it's so much about understanding your movement limits and your cooldowns, and most players can't really take advantage of it. It's similar to, if you remember when Earth Spirit came out, people weren't really playing it, and then there were these people that spam it and just was like, holy fuck, this hero is busted, right?
Yep.
And Void Spirit kind of is in that category. Maybe not as broken as the original Earth Spirit, but it's fun. I think it looks fun. Haven't played it personally yet.
Really?
But,
wow.
Playing against it and reading over its spells, it seems, and I played with it one game as well. It seems really cool. Snapfire seems still a little awkward, maybe. Like you were talking about how the third skill, what's it called, Little Shredder, didn't really fit the hero design. I said I don't personally have a problem with it. I still don't. But when I see it in the games, it seems a little less straightforward, or a little less clear how you build a composition with this hero, what kind of lanes you want to play, what kind of items you want to buy, which in a way is interesting because you can get creative and there's no like defined style for what you should be doing. But maybe like what's the synergy in the hero with itself, right? Like when you look at other heroes, there's a bit more logic maybe to exactly how.
I thought you disagreed with me on this when we first.
Now I've seen it played a bit, and it's a bit hard to put exactly into words. It's just when you're playing with or against this hero, it's just a bit weird and quirky.
It is.
But I don't necessarily think the solution is to rework spells. I think just rebalancing them can go a long way, because you can make the individual spells strong and get through it that way. But she's, if I had to just choose right now which one is the more complete design, it's definitely the Void Spirit.
Right.
And she still probably needs some work.
She's balanced though, apparently. But okay, here's the thing, syndereN. I've played the absolute shit out of both of these heroes, like a lot. I'm usually like, Pango was the same. I was obsessed with him. These two heroes, especially Void Spirit, I love. Holy crap, these are some fun heroes. So Void Spirit, I have pretty much no complaints about. I think in terms of concept, obviously he was overpowered, but they've brought him back down to earth. Hopefully, we'll see. He just feels super fun, like everything about him, and I don't think it's that complicated to play. Like Earth Spirit is too complicated for me. Ember Spirit is too complicated for me. Storm Spirit, I agree with you that he's not as complicated as the rest, but for whatever reason, it's just never been a hero that has interested me. But Void Spirit fits every one of my play styles, and I'm loving it. Been playing him as a mid hero. Feels very strong. I mean, with the 60% win rate, obviously he's quite overpowered. So I was going like getting 20 plus kills consistently, but not that that's that crazy at my skill level. But
the thing that I think you should always be a little bit careful with when you rebalance these heroes is that I think a lot of the power spike that they get early on is just lack of knowledge from the enemy, right?
Yes, that's true.
Like if you're the player who's playing it a lot and the enemy team has multiple players that don't play the hero or very rarely play it or only faced it like once or twice, it will obviously look better than it is. That doesn't mean it's not too good, but generally on release, good heroes that are good for the player that play them will have a good win rate until people learn. And it should just drop organically over time as people understand it better.
I mean, it's similar to our community hero project from back in the day when we would come out with a new hero, and I'm adamant because I've played it a lot that this hero feels pretty balanced. It'll seem completely OP when people have no idea what they're going up against, right?
Yes.
So it is one of those slippery slopes where you can't react too fast. I mean, Valve has a lot more data than we would have for a mod like that, so I'm not too worried. But either way, just the feel of the hero, the concept, everything about him, I absolutely love. Then going to Snapfire, I agree that it feels kind of clunky, but I've been having a pretty good time with the hero, consistently getting a lot of kills. It does not, and this is where we can talk a little bit. I made a tweet about this earlier. Does not feel like a support hero to me at all. The Q, let me just talk about it from a core perspective, okay? Because that's all I play. Yeah. The Q is nice for the laning stage. Just having like a level 1 version that's just for the slow or whatever is fine. I think
guarantees CS as well, right?
Yes, guarantees CS. Yeah. The E is really good for not only getting great items like Diffusal or Deso or any proccing items, because the level 20 talent, which I know that's kind of far down the line, but the 20 talent where you can use your attack damage really synergizes well with the E. If, like we talked about, even though it doesn't change your position or it's not vector targeting like Pango Q, it's the same concept as that completely, except it scales better because damage items actually will scale with you once you get to level 20. The ult does not synergize at all with any of his abilities, her abilities, because it is so mega long range, but it's still really powerful. And I will say when you play like the core Snapfire, it feels like you just got to choose to use it first or you just use it last. Like you don't typically, it doesn't synergize. It's like you're too far away for it to be useful. For your other skills to be useful and vice versa. So it is kind of weird. And then I'm going to say this right now. In its current iteration, I know they buffed it. I think Cookie is one of the worst spells in the game. I think it's fucking horrifically bad. It's situationally good, but especially if you're playing it as a core, I think it's almost useless most of the time. Like it gives you a little bit of jump. The projectile is way too slow.
I was going to say that too.
Slow.
That's the biggest problem.
If they change that to be twice as fast, the spell would just be good, right? But again, the idea of the concept of the hero, it feels like a mishmash of abilities. I'm still having fun with the hero because I'm destroying with it, but not necessarily a huge fan of the concept itself. But my question to you is, I don't know how much you've actually seen so far. Do you think it's better as a support or a core? When I say core, it's like off lane, like a Pango.
I think that's hard to answer because one of the big strengths of it as a support is just the inherent power of the ulti, like how much fucking damage it does and how safely you can play and not get caught. I think the reason Valve think of it mainly as a support is Snapfire Cookie as a supporting ability that empowers an ally to go in, because you don't really want to do that yourself unless you're farmed, right? Like you just put yourself in a bad position if you jump in with Fire Snap Cookie. But since it's so slow, it's not a feel good supportive spell to use. I just think it's way too slow. The core, the little shredder spell that we considered mainly a core spell is actually super good in the laning stage for supporting. It's
Yep.
very, very high damage and is a great lane harassment tool.
And it's really good against towers as well. Holy shit.
Yes.
They fortify the tower, you use your E, that like mitigates so much damage. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think overall it's a bit undefined for me still, because I see the appeal of playing this as a core. You get fast levels, so you get the Mortimer Kisses really early. The Scatterblast scales pretty well for farming when you have it on level 4 and you get the 50% point blank range. You can super quickly clear creep waves and farm the jungle. But it might be one of those heroes where you're like, you get farmed on this guy, but how do you actually scale? Like the level, it feels good to get 6, it feels good to get 12. It feels good to hit that like first power spike when you have both the Scatter Blast and the Little Shredder at high levels. You're like really strong for an interval. But then in a way for me, it maybe gets a little bit of core Skywrath syndrome where you're like super powerful for 5 to 10 minutes. And then what's your end game here? Like, what's the scaling? Is Little Shredder good enough that you can play this hero late game and own shit or not? And I just don't have a feel for that. What I do have a feel for is how good it is as a support for, a while with Mortimer Kisses and with Fire Snap Cookie in the right situations.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure what you can get out of this, like when we talk about it, it's like Little Shredder is good in laning, but then it's not good for supports anymore. Scatterblast is good in the early game for farming, but then it's hard to use it anymore as a support without getting out of position. So it's just a little bit clunky,
Do you
but
think
we'll see.
the cookie is her worst spell right now?
Probably yes.
Probably? Come
would
on.
say so.
You can be more emphatic, but it's easily. Like, it's not even remotely close.
I just don't have enough experience, because if I was playing this as a support, like how would you scale it as a support? Let's say that first. Then you can use that as your judgment.
That's a good question. I have no idea.
What would you max? You have to choose something, right?
As support. Cookie would never... I would... Maybe second you get Cookie after like getting a level of either your Q and E. You would never max
better
Cookie
to
first.
max?
Ooh.
Scatterblast or Shredder?
I think Scatterblast.
You're a support now. Okay.
Wait, which... Sorry, I don't even know the names. The E. What are the E's called? Little Shredder.
Little Shredder.
I think that's better than the Q by far.
So you're basically playing a support who does single target physical damage and has no control, more or less, or limited control.
Right.
It's weird, right? Because then when you hit level 6, you feel like a boss because that ult fucking owns. But until then,
it's just weird because her ult does not synergize with any of her abilities. It's a really good spell, don't get me wrong. It's actually relatively easy to get some kills, especially if you have like some wombo combo. You just need one stun, really, and you can blow somebody up. If you have like a Chronosphere, Magnus RP, something like that, it's just a team wipe if you get a good initiation.
It synergizes. It synergizes with Cookie, but only if you have the right type of teammate, and that's too niche, right? You need to throw the Cookie on a teammate who can then catapult himself into the fight, and then you can kiss. But that's
kind of forced synergy. I don't know.
That's what I mean. It's like anti-mage or Slark. Yeah. You get the idea. Somebody that gets themselves in after you throw that Cookie. And I think in conclusion, that's kind of what feels the weirdest about this, because all of the spells are cool and all of them are good, but you don't set yourself up for success. And most heroes nowadays kind of do that. Either by having a strong disable that sets up for a damage combo like Lina, or having really good supportive tools and then being played in that direction primarily, like say something like Abaddon, who's more defensively oriented. That doesn't mean... I think Abaddon is actually a good hero to just talk about when you talk hero design, because if I showed you Abaddon now and you'd never heard of him, you would be like, this Curse of Avernus spell is just weird on this hero. That will be your Little Shredder of Abaddon, because like he has two defensive spells, he has a heal and a shield. Why does he have an on-hit slow as a melee hero? But I think that's a really good example of how you can make a hero cool with different directions.
I actually disagree. I think it synergizes because he's tanky. His spells that make him tanky, so he can be up in front and personal and just hit people. So it does synergize in a way, unlike Little Shredder.
Yeah, but I agree. I still think it synergizes better, but I think it's an example of something where the first time you read it, it wouldn't be like, huh? I thought this guy was like,
So here's the thing. So I think, and again, I'm not saying I'm a pro player. I'm like divine level or whatever.
Mhm.
I personally think that the semi-carry Snapfire is better than support right now. The question is, will
Okay.
Valve, if this is true, let's just assume this is true for a moment, will Valve change it to be more supporty in the future? Because it is listed technically as a support hero.
Yeah.
And I think even though I wouldn't have as much fun if it was a support hero, I think it is important for there to be a strength range support hero in the game.
Mhm.
Because the role just is, there's so few and far between in terms of those actual classifications. So if they do that, they need to nerf E. I think it's way too good. It scales way too well into the late game. Again, I'm not claiming to be some pro player or anything, but it feels, if you build for it, it feels really strong. Really strong.
I would love to see them really give the cookie some love and then see.
Yes, I
And
agree.
if the hero's win rate right now is 50%, and it's still a bit low for a new hero, right? Let's remember the argument from before. And I know it goes both ways, because you could be like, well, if the enemy team doesn't know how to play against it, your team maybe doesn't know how to play with it, or you are not that good yet. So having 60% win rate is really, really high. I think it will skew things. I think new heroes having a higher than 50% win rate does not mean they're imbalanced necessarily.
Keep in
I
mind,
think
she was.
it favors the player who plays the hero more than it's a disadvantage for the enemy team, or a disadvantage from his own team not knowing how the hero works. The player has
They
higher
did buff
impact by
her.
knowing.
Her stats were buffed majorly. She got 2 armor
Yes.
and
Yeah.
1 entire point per level in terms of strength gain. That's huge.
She got way tankier, which is kind of a core buff, because that I don't know. I feel like that's a bit of a forced way of thinking, but it mainly affects her ability to go in, and that means it's about fire snap cooking yourself primarily, right? Like being tankier is always good, whatever role you play, but
I mean,
it
when I'm
is a little bit
playing
more of a core direction for me.
as the core Snapfire, the cookie feels somewhat okay sometimes on me because there's no projectile. That's the real issue here, is the projectile.
Yes,
The effect I
exactly.
think is fine. Like it can be strong. It's just the range is god awful. I know they buffed it from 500 to 700. It's still god awful range and super slow projectile. So I think they'll end up giving that some love in the future.
If I could rebalance this hero right now, I would make Fire Snap Cookie way faster. I don't know what the speed should be, but I think only change that. Nothing else about the spell. Make the cookie faster. Maybe a little more cast range. Those 2 aspects. Nothing else. Keep the damage, keep the stun, keep the cooldowns, and then make Little Shredder clearly worse on the low levels. It can still scale really well. Like right now, it's 270, 360, 450, 540. Maybe it could be 200, 300, 400, 500 or something, just so it's not this like super stupid laning spell that does all this damage. And then it can incentivize this way of playing with the cookie, because the way I see it right now, this spell just doesn't seem good to level. Like when it's this unreliable and this situational, it's like, I don't know what's a good spell to compare it to in Dota, but I feel like if you have a spell that half the time you actually can't use, that feels bad.
Yep.
Like,
It's way
if you
too
don't have an
situational.
ally in front of you that's close to the enemy team, the spell is literally almost useless.
Or if they're
And
not facing
then
the right direction, like it has to.
Yeah.
It's a specific scenario where it's good right now.
And the defensive aspect of it is it's cool and it can be useful, but it's not awesome, you know. So
Maybe if it's
that's enough about that, I
used
think.
on whatever. I'm sure they'll be changing some things in the future, but I will say
I think Snapfire will get us.
Overall, even though it's kind of a mess of skills, I've still been having fun with the hero, honestly.
I think the spells are great fun. It's a fun design for sure.
Void Spirit though feels to me like it did when Pango came out. I am having so much fun on this hero, syndereN. Holy crap. Super cool.
It seems super fun. It really does.
Okay, so next thing, let's talk about the Outposts and their effect on the game. I personally have loved these. I was neutral with positive outlook, if you will, when it first was announced. I think it just makes the game feel more structured, especially on a lower level, because you always have something to go for every 5 minutes. It incentivizes more fighting. It gives more experience in gold, obviously, which speeds up the game quite a bit. From my perspective, this has been nothing but a win, but I'm interested to hear what your perspective is.
Yeah, I was when we talked about it, I remember saying I think it's really good we get a different objective around the map to fight for than just bounty runes and Roche, and I feel like it's delivered. Whether the channel time is correct and the vision is correct and the reward is correct is something else, but I just think the way it impacts the game is a good thing. So I'm giving it thumbs up for now, at least in what it does for games.
Do you think it's too
Yeah, it's
snowbally?
good. I think it's very hard to control both of them. That's the thing. Like, if you are able to control both outposts every 5 minutes, then you deserve it. That's the way I see it. Like, there are direct opposite sides of the map. And if you as a team want one outpost, you can smoke as 5, go there and take the fight. And there are 2 possible options. Either you overwhelm your opponent, maybe they're not there, or they're there with a set number of heroes, or you overwhelm them, or they are all 5 and they're ready for you, and then it's like a strategic outplay and they read your move, which is also great. Because the teleport is 6 seconds, it gets really difficult to defend when the enemy jumps you. If the teleport was 3, it would be really different, because then you could suddenly defend it much easier. But because of the long teleport time, I think it's fine.
I don't know
Yeah,
how
could be
imbalanced it
cool.
is right now, if at all. It could be totally balanced. I think a cool idea, though, that popped into my head. If it is imbalanced in some ways, in terms of like being too snowbally, you could just move the 2 bounty runes that are connected to it somewhere else on the map. So then you have 4 bounty runes
Sure.
that are not connected. That's the gold that you can get. That's 6 different things you need to get, right? So you're not going to get them all anyway. And then 2 experience points. So it's just all about priorities in your specific game.
Yeah.
But so
I
far, I've
would
had no
definitely
problem
like
with
that too. I don't think the bounties need to be there. Yeah.
Okay. So moving on to Couriers, I I personally haven't. I mean, again, I'm not on the pro level. I don't think people at my like 5K level or whatever it is will be using Couriers in terms of like using items at the end of the game. It's just too much micro. Everything else regarding the Couriers, I have absolutely loved. Not having to fight over the Courier has been incredible. The biggest quality of life changed in a very, very long time for Dota. I have absolutely loved it. The fact that it's connected to your gold per second, still a little bit weird for me, but it incentivizes, taking care of your courier. It's not just some turbo mode courier that can't die. So overall, I think this has been a huge win from my side. Do you agree or disagree?
I want to change one thing if I could right now. I think the courier being flying should be time-based and not level-based. And the reason is, the reason it was good before with the time-based was that you're just at this point in the game where, how to explain, like the ramp-up of importance of getting items out, or the hassle relative to what you're doing on the map, the 3 minutes, it was like an arbitrary time that they put in, but it just honestly made a lot of sense. The problem now is, if you're a support, your courier gets flying pretty slow. That's a problem you probably haven't had because you've played mid a lot and core. But the position 5 in the game might not have a flying courier until minute 9. And if you're sending
Get
out
fucked.
wards or you're sending out items to yourself, not only is it really slow, they also nerfed the move speed on the ground one, I believe. So it's like really fucking slow.
Yep.
There are so many heroes that are good at hunting couriers that are way buffed because of that aspect, because now there's 5 couriers to kill. So playing 5 and getting your stuff from the courier is just honestly a lot harder than you would think when you just saw the patch notes. It's actually a pretty big nerf to 5's ability to move around the map with the courier. And then maybe what we're going to see is, what I don't think is intended, what might end up happening is that whoever on the team gets level 5 first shares their courier in Pro Dota, because the other people need access to a flying courier. It's just way more efficient to have a flying courier.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
probably hit like 2 or 3 cores at around the 5 or 6 minute mark. Those 3 couriers will be used. The 2 others will be standing in base.
So are you saying they would literally share it, like in the top left, or they would just move it themselves? They'd micro it.
They would literally share it top left. I think would be a good idea, because like sending out the ground couriers for the supports is a risk. They're slow. They get one shot, and if they die, you lose your GPM. Like, in those stages of the game, you don't need 5 couriers. We've been able to do with 1 for a long time. So you could definitely do with 3. And I just don't think that was the intended effect. So how about we just give everyone their flying courier at the same time? They could make it 5 minutes if they wanted. Like, if they thought 3 minutes was too early, or that it gave too big of an advantage to certain lanes or whatever, you could streamline it. You could say everybody gets flying courier minute 5. It allows the ground hunting courier heroes to still flourish. in the first 5 minutes of the game. Bounty hunters, Furions, whatever. Kill the couriers when they move out with items, but make it easier for supports to have access to a
That's an
useful
interesting
courier
idea.
at some point in the game.
I mean, but right now everything is tied to the hero themselves. It's like an extension of
Yes.
themselves, which I think is a cool idea.
It's a cool idea, but
So you would just separate one of those aspects. I still don't like,
or
I haven't really
make
seen it. I
the
still don't like the idea of the items on Couriers though, but I haven't really seen
what
too
if you
much
make
of
the
it.
courier flying at level 4? That's around minute 3 mid, and it is the difference from level 4 to 5 on lane supports is big in how long it takes.
Right.
It can be 2 to 3 minutes difference. I would already be much happier if it was level 4. And I wouldn't be mad that the mid players get a flying courier that bit faster, because it would still be back to like somewhat close to what it used to be. So, what's the earliest you get level 4 on mid if you don't get fed?
I don't know the timings of anything.
3.5 minutes?
It's pretty fast though.
Maybe. I want to say.
I mean, the thing, even if it's flying, it's still really slow. So it's not like it is inherently that big of an advantage.
It is.
Unless you micro
it's the way it can traverse terrain, right?
Yeah.
Like being ground just is a huge limitation for how you can move the courier and how you can move your hero as a result, right? Especially if you're playing in a minefield of courier snipers, right? It's just it's really hard to use. So outside of that, I was pretty negative about the possibility of the courier warding, but it not unlocking it until level 15 hasn't seemed like too big of a problem, because the thing that I referred to with the old 652E patch from many years back that was super bad was when couriers could ward from level 1, because the supports weren't moving to ward. They just sent out the courier and it was just warding. It was super stupid. Level 15 is pretty late into the game. So at that point, people establish map controls in various ways with smokes and stuff. So I don't think that was as bad as I thought it would be.
Have you seen a lot of the item usage for couriers yet?
No, not a single time.
Yeah, me neither.
It's super gimmicky anyway. Like level 25, your hero is probably stocked out first before you start putting items on the courier. I just think it's going to be fun. It's going to make some movie moments, but it's not important.
It feels like a lot of pressure to micro, from a lower skill perspective. I'm sure the pros don't mind because it's like a free, somebody in chat was saying a free Midas. That's actually a really good use of that once you run out of slots on a hero.
Yeah, level 25 though. Who buys a Midas on level 25?
Well, no, it's an old Midas that you
keep your Midas, and then when you're 25, you put it in courier. Fair enough. That's a good point. Yeah, that's something you would probably do.
Yeah, that was the one thing I was kind of negative about, but haven't really seen it, so I guess I can't really say anything about it. We'll just have to wait and see. When do heroes
get level 25?
I mean, it's earlier than usual, like earlier than older patches. The games are way faster now. And I will say, I want to say this before I forget. I think XP talents should be 100% removed from the game if they're going to keep the current system in place.
I agree.
I think they're super broken. There's literally no reason in most games, I don't know how it is on the pro level, but in pub games, there's no reason not to skill your XP talent now. Because usually you're getting 25 in a game. If you get an XP talent, you will get 30 if the game is like 40 minutes long, which most of them will be in that vicinity.
XP talents are too good. I agree.
Way too good.
And I think conceptually, I think it's just not a good way to balance a hero. Like, if you think about it, right? If heroes are balanced and have a fair win rate when they have an XP talent, it basically means that the core aspect of the hero is too weak. Do you follow? Like what I mean here? If you need an experience boost to get a 50-50 win rate, the hero in itself is not good enough. And the XP talent should be changed for something that improves your kit, gives your spell something funny like cast range or damage or whatever it is, like some other spells have, and then phase out these. I think I've been a fan of that for, I think I said it way back, that I think, first of all, the respawn talent should be removed, and they were. So that was great.
But you think gold is fine?
Ideally for me, all GPM, XPM, and respawn talent should be removed. And they've done 1 out of 3. Because, again, it's like it's artificial inflation of the hero. You know what I mean? Like you're putting GPM talent on a hero, and then you're like, now it can scale. I mean, yeah, how couldn't we make the talent more interesting? Like, it doesn't feel fun to get a GPM talent. It's just like, nice, now I can get toward an item later in the game. I will get gold, or XPM talent. I will get stronger faster. But what if you got something that gave you an immediate return on investment, like Venomancer's reduced Gale cooldown talent, or some sort of boost to spell damage on a spell, or whatever it could be, something more creative and fun, because the talents basically have limitless potential, right? You could do whatever you want with them as a game design, which is has to be awesome freedom, but at the same time difficult to balance. GPM and XPM are just the least interesting ones, I think.
Yep.
And
I
something
agree.
that,
But they feel
if you
good.
think about,
That's the thing.
so
They feel really good.
a bit of the inspiration that talents probably took from is Heroes of the Storm, right? Where every talent they had would improve one spell of your hero, as far as I know. It was always a spell change. And I'm not saying all of the talents need to be that. I think it's fine to have some flat damage increase or flat magic resist increase or whatever it is. Because it feels more like it's that impact timing. It's where now your hero does something different. It does something better. Whereas GPM is like, this will be nice in 10 minutes. I'm building up. And I get the strategic depth and aspects that you get out of being able to kind of build up and ramp up like that. I just don't know how fun it is.
Right.
I still like GPM more than XPM though. Like if you put me on the spot and you said remove one, I would remove XPM in a heartbeat and give it something else. I think GPM is softer.
The first hero that I got 30 on, I've only gotten it twice since this patch came out, was Weaver. Why does he have an XP talent?
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Crazy. It's really good.
Getting 30 on that hero feels so good. Anyway, hero changes that you like from this patch. I will give a shout out to Sven Aghs. That has been a huge amount of fun. Not having to buy Blink Dagger on him has been amazing. It feels really good. Apparently, it was taken from Dota Imba. I don't know if you know that. That's been in the game for years,
I had no idea.
Actually. And then Magnus Aghs. I'm not gonna say I love it. I've just seen a lot of clips of it. The Skewer 4-second cooldown with Octarine Core, Arcane Rune, and the whatever that item is that drops from the jungle that gives you CDR.
Mind Quickening Charm.
My God, that thing is filthy.
Just
disgusting.
This is great, because I looked at the outline for today and I was like, oh, he's gonna talk about these, huh? And your perspective on this is so different from what mine is and what I was gonna talk about. So that's fun, yeah. Because I was going to open up saying these two items are so fucking broken that there is no way.
Hold on.
I thought when you were on the hero change and you had it here.
I don't play Magnus. I agree Magnus is super broken. I'm just talking about things that have popped out from this patch.
Right.
I don't like it. Sven Aghs I do like, and I will defend to the death because it's fucking awesome. Okay?
It is so fucking good.
Yes. Good. He needs it.
So
he sucks.
Okay, so here's the problem I have here is that this was part of the criticism I had of the previous patch as well. When they made that big Aghs drop patch where every hero got an Aghs, to make it exciting, to make it different, so they need to be like, the designs are crazy, right? And it's really difficult to gauge at the time which ones are broken. It turned out the Wisp one was totally fucking busted, right? A TI. And there were, I would say, a lot of the top tier heroes at that tournament were specifically top tier because the Aghs were so good. And I think the Aghs, I believe I've used this wording before, I think it should be an extension of the hero rather than define the hero, right? It's good when it's a choice that makes it cool, not when I get my Aghs, I'm a fucking god. Like, I don't feel like that's the way the item should be. But the crazier that you make the Aghs, the more likely it gets that they just become a breaking point for heroes that totally define them in the game. And it's fun to have crazy Aghs. I'm not going to deny it. The Sven Aghs and the Magnus Aghs, they're fucking hilarious. Well, they look fun. It looks like it would be super fun to play.
The Magnus Aghs isn't crazy. That's not even an interesting concept. It's just CDR. It just lowers the cooldown and changes the cast point. Like,
it is insanely good. Like,
I'm not saying it's not good. I'm saying it's a very boring concept. They could easily change that to something that's cool. Sven Aghs is cool and good and amazing.
Yeah, I mean, conceptually, reducing cooldown and removing mana cost isn't that interesting, but when you do it on a spell that provides mobility and lets you move enemy heroes, it feels really fun, right? Like, the concept itself is not revolutionary by any means, but it's super fun to play. And it's also fun to watch. But the competitive part of it, like, in me, I watched a game yesterday. I watched Nigma versus Singularity. One team had Sven and the other one had Magnus. And I just felt the whole game revolved around these two Aghs. Like, I felt like that was the game I was watching. It was, can Magnus skewer heroes to Fountain? Or can Sven turn himself into a Stormhammer and blast two heroes instantly? It's like, it wasn't... It's just not what I want it to be. And maybe I'm in a minority here. I don't know. I think a lot of people love this crazy shit. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have like crazy concepts and wonky stuff. I think it's good for the game and I think it's fun. It's just the values are just busted on this right now. And I don't know, because how do you nerf, like let's talk Sven Aghs quickly. How do you nerf it? What it does is you turn into the Stormhammer yourself, and when you arrive at the target, you get a free physical hit in. So basically, Echo Saber has been removed on Sven. Like, nobody will buy it ever. You buy Aghs, it's better.
Oh, I bought it and Aghs.
Well, that's just overkill, because it's...
Get rid of
the moment you hit the Aghs, you also get the Echo Saber for free, right?
Right.
More or less.
So just get rid of the auto attack. That's an easy fix. It's still good. You don't have to buy Blink Dagger. It gives you extra stats.
Yeah, but is it good enough then?
I think it is.
Then I don't know. It's tricky, because maybe you arrive at the target and you do a hit for half damage. Something like this. I'm sure you can tweak it, but right now it's bust. The Magnus one, the values are way off. Like,
yeah, why is it so low? Is it 4 seconds to start with Aghs?
4 seconds cooldown, 0 mana cost.
What's the normal cooldown? What does it go from?
I'm not much of a Magnus player.
It's like 15 seconds or something like that is my guess. I don't really play the hero at all. By the way, where is Arise? Has he come back to the scene with this patch? Because that is a Magnus god if I've ever seen one before.
Let's see, Skewer cooldown. Skewer cooldown level 4, 20.
20 to 4. Like, just make it like 7-8 seconds. Like, why is it need to be 4?
And the mana cost went from 80 to 0.
Yeah, I'm fine with the 0 mana cost. Whatever.
The thing about the 0 mana cost that you have to remember is this hero has Blink now. That's basically what it does.
Yeah.
You can just travel across the map. You get when you get this item on Magnus, it does everything. It gives you catch. It gives you farming speed. It gives you escape. It gives you travel time. Like, there's literally no reason to not buy this item, because it's just objectively the best. And that's the problem that I have with it, right? I want the Aghanims to be a choice, not... Like, if you... Currently, the way I look at this game, and when I look at this Aghs, if you're not buying this item, you're making a mistake in every game when you're not buying it. And that's not how it should be. It should be you're buying it because it's good in this game, or because
I think
this is a timing when it's great.
Too unrealistic, though, to have that outlook. You know, I think
you can have it as an ideal.
Yeah, I'm personally fine with a hero needing Aghs. I just don't want all of them to need Aghs. You know, a few of them I think it's fine. This is just too good. That's all it is. It just needs a nerf.
But that's the point for me, right? Like, I would like the design ideal for Aghs to be, we try to get to a point. And I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not saying it's even possible with the current designs we have, but just ideally, every Aghs is fun, unique, does something cool to the hero, and is a choice.
That's the ideal world.
That is super difficult to do, clearly. I'm not saying IceFrog did a shitty job or that this is easy. I'm giving my feedback. Like, if I was designing this, I would not have done a better job. Like, this is fucking hard, okay? So we're not throwing tomatoes at them on the stage and saying, boo, you were fucking bad at balancing the game. That's not the point here. But I think it's important to call a spade, and on this one, it's just too good. And it will get nerfed. I will guarantee it. It's always dangerous. You've been using this word a little bit lately, because some things have been a bit crazy. When you have a spell that has so many different uses, and you take the mana cost and the cooldown this low, I'm sure when the beta testers and IceFrog or whatever were looking at this and thinking about it, they were probably not thinking too much about the secondary benefits, because the obvious benefit is, in team fights is fucking fun. You can skewer in, you can RP, you can skewer out, you can like have this mobility and stuff. It's like that added element of map traveling, the added element of farming speed that really ramps up this item. If you could somehow imagine a world where you had 4-second cooldown, but only when you had taken hero damage, the item would actually not be that broken.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just like, that's really weird design, right? Then you're trying to get hit so you can start casting Skewer, but you get the idea.
I feel like this one, you just increase the cooldown. Like, that's all there is to it. It's not...
I don't think the mana cost should be 0 either.
You can... I mean, the thing about the mana cost, like, what are you going to make it? You're going to make it like 50? Because if you have
40.
Octarine Core, like all the Mags have been getting, you're not going to run out of mana anyway. So
yeah, but then you have Octarine Core.
True, that's later in the game.
Now you've
Sure.
paid another 5,000 gold. I mean, now you've
That's
earned
a
it.
good one. Yeah.
Now
you've earned being
I've
OP.
seen people go treads Aghs on this hero right now.
Okay.
And they just skewer around the map and farm camps, and then when there's time for a team fight, they skewer it. Like, come on.
I mean,
look at it.
It just shows how deep in the hole this hero was previously, right? Just non-existent. But okay. I like it. All right, let's get to the big topic. We're getting deep into this podcast, syndereN, but let's try not to take too long on this next topic. The neutral items. What are our thoughts on this? A little less than a week after we have talked about it. I played a lot. You've played a decent amount. What do you think of neutral items now?
Just like in the start, I wasn't angry at the concept or wasn't hating. I was worried about the relative strength of the items within their tier, and it's already been improved a bit. The chance of them dropping has been changed. The cap on the items has been introduced. I think the reason I'm saying I'm not so negative about it, and I'm like, that's already a negative outlook, is that pretty much everybody in the high brackets of the game thought they were bad and should not be in the game. But like, given time, I think it's overall going to be a good addition to the fun of the game and make it more interesting. So right now, obviously, we talked about how we think Mindbreaker, the current one, is too good. So that's the kind of item that needs to be changed, for example. And then we need more weeks and months to balance the items within their tiers. But when we get there, I think it's fun. It's exciting, right? Like, think about yourself when you're playing the game. When you hit that minute 7, you're like, oh, now I can go and get neutral items. It feels fun to play, and that's it's massively important, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not too upset. And everybody who's like, man, these tier 5 items, it's about which one you get. It's super broken. That needs, again, it's the same logic. The tier 5 items need to be at a point where it's not about you getting that fucking broken drop and winning the game, but more about, okay, this is a 70-minute game already. All of these items are good. Can we get some?
That's a way of Ice Frog saying, right, please end the fucking game already. Jesus Christ. Let me ask you this before I give you my thoughts. The tier 5 items, I've only had 2 games that have gone to that point, and I played a lot of games since this came out, so it's not like that happens very often. Fallen Sky. This item is so fucking good and so fucking fun. Let me ask you if you think this is too overpowered, though. So in my game, I was Pango, as usual. Yeah. I'm 7 slotted with Aghs consumed. This item drops. My drow has a blink. She purchases Meteor Hammer. She combines it. She gives it to me. It still works. Fallen Sky. Do you think it should be that way?
Right.
I don't know what the right answer to this is. It's interesting because I didn't realize that's how it worked with the ones that you had to combine yourself.
The completed item can be used by everyone if it is a completed item from a neutral camp.
Yes.
I personally don't think so. I think the way it should be is that the neutral recipe that you find is shareable, and then you need to choose who will use it, and that person needs to own the items that combine into it. That's my personal opinion, because I've never really been a fan of this. It was removed for a reason. In Dota 1, there was a time where the meta was literally like sharing items so that you could quickly get a rapier or something on a carry, right? That was dumb and was removed. Yeah, I think that would be a good change for sure. Just make the owner be the one who pays for it. I actually thought when you prefaced it that it was going to be, should I have had the item or should drow? Because it's fucking great on drow.
It is
50% cooldown reduction
on
talent.
That game,
dude, that's
based
dope.
On that game, it was better on me, and we ended it immediately after getting that item. So, okay, my items on the neutrals. I was very negative before, as you guys thought. I was very I don't know if I'd say it was doomsday, but I've come around a bit for sure. Like, here's the thing: I've been playing a lot of Dota since, like I said, the patch came out. I've been having so much fun playing. I think the items themselves are probably the least important in terms of my fun factor so far in the games. These 70-minute games, that's different. Those were crazy and we were laughing hysterically. But in terms of just the regular gameplay, I think the Outposts have been probably the biggest contribution to me having fun in the game. It's just the quality of life in general just feels better for 1 through 5. Everybody's having more fun. It's fresh. Everybody's trying to figure out this patch together. That's always fun, obviously. But the items themselves, I don't know. Like right now, the quality of life when you pick them up, you pass them around. Whoever can need it. Everybody has 6 slots now. Like, not saying they're fully 6 slotted, but they have some sort of item now, which is great for the game. Just having items makes the game more fun. That's just plain and simple. In terms of just being complete RNG, like what items you get, obviously you talked about the balance of the items themselves within their tiers. I think the change that you only get 3 per tier now is a really good change. I don't know. Like,
okay, I actually just got an idea. Sorry if I interrupted.
No,
but imagine this. Imagine within the tier that okay, this is going to sound a little bit complicated, but imagine there's 60 items. There's 12 per tier. Okay? So that means you could divide each tier into 3 sub-tiers. This explanation might sound stupid, but imagine tier 1, there is tier 1 light, tier 1 medium, and tier 1 high, and you get 1 of each item. So you say 4 of these tier 1 items. The tier 1 light always drops first, the tier 1 medium always drops second, and the tier 1 high always drops third. Then you get the weak item first, a better item later, and the best one last, and you need to farm for them. So that within the tiers, you could still have the items not be equally powerful, but then they're subdivided into categories that are more likely to be equally powerful. Because I think that might be easier to balance. Do you follow?
not really.
Okay, so
during the tier 1 stage, let's say I get our 3 items.
Yes. You get 3 items. One of them is low tier, one of them is medium tier, and one of them is high tier within that time zone.
So it always goes in that order.
Yes.
Okay.
So let's say, for example, within tier 1, let's say the worst tier 1 item is Faded Bruges, just for example. Let's just say it's the worst.
Okay.
That one is now in the subcategory of 1 to 4. So there are 12 items. There are 4 that are considered the weakest. They can drop first. You get 1 of those. Then 5 to 8 can drop second, and 9 to 12 can drop last. So you kind of divide them into those categories. Do you think that's good or bad?
These are all still separate items, or are you talking about combinations that upgrade?
It's still the same items as now, but from a balancing perspective, you, instead of having this, because we're talking about the RNG still, right? Like, there's 2 options. Either all the items are on paper equal in impact, or you can subdivide them within that time frame so that the first item that drops is a weaker one, the second drops is a stronger one, and the third one that drops is the strongest one. And each team gets 1 of each. So then there's a 25% chance every game that you get the strongest item in the tier that you want. And there's a 25% chance.
Do you think this adds complexity?
It does, for sure. That's why I'm asking about it. Like, is that worth it? I just got the idea off the top of my head when you started talking about it. Like, maybe... I personally think the best balancing is if all the items are just good, but none of them are really stupidly good. I just think that might be super difficult to do. Whereas if you could subdivide them into this way, maybe that could be helpful.
I mean, the way that it is now, it makes it more interesting, right? I think we're both worried about the competitive scene because from a pubbing perspective, who gives a fuck, honestly? It feels like a mini game. It feels like Heroes of the Storm. A lot of my friends have been saying that as well. It legitimately feels like Heroes of the Storm. You're constantly going towards an objective, constantly fighting, it feels like, because of those objectives. You're getting a lot more XP, a lot more gold. You're getting random ass items coming out of the jungle. It does feel fun. Is it good for competitive? We'll see in a couple days when we cast the WePlay qualifiers, because I don't know the answer to that question. But I hated the idea before. I'm starting to come around to it just because it feels less impactful than I was thinking. There's some items that are, obviously, and the 70-minute games or whatever, I don't care if they give like 8 divines in one item. Who gives a shit? It's 70 minutes. That adds way more fun to the game, in my opinion, than the earlier items, which some of them are cool, some of them are pretty meh, and that's how it kind of should be. So I was more worried about like the new player experience, but I've kind of come around to that a little bit as well because of the random factor. Because if you add more complexity in terms of what you're talking about, or even what other people were talking about, where you get lumber or something like that, and you that adds complexity to another level even than it is now. So I'm starting to come around.
I wanted to quickly finish the thought that I had. I think one upside to the idea that I gave, where you subdivide them into categories where they scale, is that if there are items within the tier that are stronger, they will drop later, right? So not only do you categorize them, but you also make the highest impact items drop at a later time in the game, which means relatively they will be a little bit weaker compared to the heroes, right? So, for example, right now, 7 minutes, an item will drop. Maybe one of them is really good, minutes 7 to 12, and then it's worse later. There are items like this, right? Within tier 1, there are items that are super impactful right when you get them. And then 10 minutes later, not so good. And there are items that are way better later, but not very good when they drop. So if you imagine that they drop in that order based on tiering, and that it's so weird because I'm saying tiering, but it's tiering within the tier, right? Then you can have them drop at a time that's maybe a bit more accurate relative to the game state at that time. Because I don't know, how fast do you get all 3 items? Like, you get the first one really fast. 9% chance on neutrals. On average, you farm 5 camps and 1 drops, or something like this. Maybe less.
Depends on how many people are in the jungle.
Right.
You can get them pretty fast, though.
But the first one is fast. The second one, decent. Maybe it takes like 3 or 4 minutes before you have all 3 items. On average, I don't know. 3 or 4 minutes. Minute 7 to 11 is a big deal in Dota. Minute 10, people get tomes. You know, like, it changes a lot whether you get these items at that time. So,
yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Don't know.
We gotta move on.
I'm still a much bigger fan of if they can not do my idea and just have all the items be equal impact. But how the hell do you do that? I laughed at it last episode and said Ice Frog is voluntarily making his own job so much harder. And I think balancing this is really hard. But man, if you nail it, it's super fun, right? Like, it's going to be awesome, but it will take time.
All right, so moving on. We won't spend nearly as much time on these topics, guys, since we are pretty deep into this podcast, thanks to syndereN's incessant rambling.
Okay, sir.
Just kidding. Team Nigma. I need to be very careful when I say this. They are now a team, a new organization by the old Liquid Boys, aka my Middle Eastern boys, Kuro and company. We're just talking about the name. What happened there?
Okay, so supposedly what they're saying is, first of all, it's close to Enigma, right?
Yeah, it's not supposedly.
It's close to Enigma, and the origin of the name is supposed to be star in Arabic. Is it?
Yeah.
What is the Arabic word for star? It's Najma, right?
Right.
Or something like this.
N-I-J-M-A?
So is this a dialect? Is this a dialect thing? Or is this just supposed to be Enigma and Najma combined into Nigma?
I don't speak Arabic, so I can't say for sure, even though I did live there for quite a while.
I think I read a comment somewhere that in Egyptian, like some sort of dialect or whatever, it was closer to Nigma or whatever it was. I don't remember 100%. If it really is the word in the Egyptian dialect, then, you know, I feel like that makes a lot more sense. But what you always have to remember with a name like this is, I mean, these pro players, you know, it's different things. Like, the community reaction to this name has been very mixed, I would say.
What?
Because,
what are you mixed?
Okay, let me rephrase that. For the most part, it's been negative. Let's try that. Majority negative. Majority negative.
Okay.
I think the primary subgroup of people that like this name are probably the ones that can relate more to the Arabic side of things. But just facing it, in Dota, there are a lot of Arabic Dota players, but it's a global game. And for many people, this name makes no sense. You know, like, and obviously the closeness to the N-word is something that gets made tons of fun of in Twitch chat, but fuck that, you know, like, whatever that is. It's no matter what you call your team, they're going to make fun of it, right?
Now, hold on a second. Okay, I'm going to disagree with you here. So you're saying you just don't like the name because it's translated from another language. That's the reason you don't like it?
No, that's not the reason I don't like it.
Okay.
I think...
Continue.
I don't know how to word this. It's like, regardless of what it means or whatever, first of all, how does it sound? Like, why didn't you call it the team Enigma, right? There's got to be a reason. And if you wanted to go for the star thing, why didn't you call it Najma? Wouldn't that have been a nice name? I don't know.
Is this really where you're going with this? I'm shocked, actually, right now.
I don't know. You go first then. I'm not completely sure what you're getting at here.
So, the N-word, that's where I'm getting with this.
Well, I just mentioned that already.
No, I know, but that is like
obvious.
The main reason that it's a Okay, so when we came up with Digital Chaos, my first choice was Dinosaur Commandos, for those that don't know, by the way. Great fucking name. I was just worried about the sponsors not taking us seriously. I love silly names, like Moonduck, you know, these shitty-ass names. I love them. We went with Digital Chaos. Everybody made fun of us because it was a very try-hard sounding. It's like you're this old man trying to fit into the scene kind of thing. I can understand why people thought that. It's not the greatest name. This is the worst. First of all, before I get into that, I'm a huge fan of these guys. You guys know I'm half Middle Eastern. This is basically the Middle Eastern team of the Dota scene. There's 4 out of 5 of them are Middle Eastern, for God's sake. I love these guys. Weehaw, one of my favorite players of all time. This is easily the worst name of any team I have ever heard of in my entire life. That includes, it doesn't matter. Includes every name I've ever heard. This is horrible. You've put yourself in a terrible position. Sponsors are going to have, like, maybe you're good enough to find sponsors that overlook this, but this is I would legitimately, this is the first thought that popped in my head, syndereN. Legitimately, I would be scared to cast this team because who the fuck knows what's going to come out of my mouth if I'm rambling about something super fast. Like, your tongue gets tied all the time in these casts if you're talking really fast, especially if you're the play-by-play. Anything can happen. I just wouldn't say this team name. Luckily, you're not going to say that fast in like team fights. You'd just be going by player names. This is pretty fucking bad, honestly. Horrible.
Yeah. But okay, so I think the reason this is a good talk is that your perspective is obviously really good because you have the understanding of the Middle Eastern, like how this could relate to them and what this name could mean to them, but you also have the American, aspect of the outlook of the N-word.
Okay,
the N-word has very different power in different countries. Like in the US, it's very bad.
Yes.
It's bad in general, let's be honest. I'm not going to say, hey, you can just go around throwing the N-word around however you want, but
no, I understand.
it is clearly the biggest problem in the US. So for these players, the downside of this, none of them are American, right? And their relation to the whole N-word debacle and stuff is different. So they might feel like, yes, it sounds a bit like it, but to them, that's less of a deal than if this was an American team with Middle Eastern players. I don't think they would have named it this. Like, imagine all 5 of the players were you. They came from a Middle Eastern background. Let's say they all spoke Arabic, and they spoke Arabic with each other.
Too? Are they morbidly
sure,
obese?
if that makes you happy, if that helps. But you get the idea. Let's say they all have Arabic roots, and they speak Arabic, and they like the name, but they live in America, and they know the power of this word there. They don't go there. But for these players, maybe they're like, obviously they thought about it, right? Of course they've thought about it. They've probably been like, fuck it. Like, people... It's not what it says. It's not what it means to us, and it's not what it means in general. So if people are going to draw so much attention to that, that was never our intention. And it's not the point of it. And since we're not an American team, it maybe doesn't make that big of a deal. But like, I hear everything you're saying, and I'm agreeing. By the way, this is not like a discussion between us. It's more of a why did they go with it? I'm trying to follow, like. Because I think what a lot of people said when this team was announced was, why did nobody say stop? Like, how did nobody say this is a horrible idea, right? And I really do think... Huh?
No. Continue.
What do you mean?
Nothing.
Clearly this is clearly a cultural thing, right? So
okay.
For these... Okay, go on.
I do understand what you're saying, because the impact of the word is definitely weighted differently. Not saying it's not bad other places. But in the US, it is so beyond bad. Like, there's literally, like, you already know this. I'm just telling people that don't know. It's literally the worst word you can say. There's not a word that even comes close to it, in my opinion. And to have your name again, it's not the same word. They didn't use the actual N word, but it's pretty close. Did you see, I think he deleted it. Slasher had a tweet that was fucking incredible. It was basically Wheel of Fortune saying team and then N. You can figure out the rest. Basically, you take out one letter and you can come up with a variation of that word. It's just bad. There's nothing really else to say. The question is, will they ever change it? Will there be enough enough influence for them to change? I don't know. Well, they don't care. The sponsor side, though, like, I don't know either.
How about we look at it from a different point? Why didn't they call it Nigma? Is it just because this sounds more Dota-like? Because it's like Enigma, and because none of them have Egyptian roots, right?
Kuro lives in Egypt, I'm pretty sure, but no, none of them are Egyptian.
So right, okay, because then that's different, right? I had the impression that all of them were that none of them were from that area or had any connection with it. Because then it's like, it's a dialect thing and whatnot. If it was a fully Egyptian team, I think it would be way more like logical, right? Then you would
Well,
probably feel
keep in
like,
mind,
okay,
I don't know what the actual word sounds like in Arabic. I have no idea.
right,
It might
okay,
be Nigma.
okay.
I don't know. I really don't know.
I see. Okay.
I should have asked
Yeah,
my
I mean,
brother. He
we
speaks
shouldn't.
Arabic.
Same for me. I only saw the spelling, so I don't know. But
Okay, well, we can move on to the next topic. OG has come out with it's not really a B team per se, but it's called OG Seed.
Yep.
Madara, Chessie, how do you say this guy's name? Zibby?
Zibbe, I think. Yeah.
Zibbe? Z-Freak, my boy, and Peksu. Essentially a team coached by No Tail and Company from OG, because OG's not going to participate in the first two majors. This is a really interesting idea, syndereN. What do you think of this? I've never, I mean, obviously we've had B teams and, the teams kind of collaborate with each other, but we've never had a team where it just takes time off, like most of the year off, to help them. That's pretty interesting. It's pretty cool.
I think it's an experiment, and it's something that they're looking to kind of make, kind of make a future for their org, because I think they all know that they're not going to be competing in Dota forever, and maybe some of them are reaching a point where they maybe don't want to do it much longer even. And then if they want the longevity of the org, they obviously all have a share, right, in OG, as far as we're aware at least. They're all shareholders in the organization. So a good way of ensuring your future and still having your foot on esports or whatever is, first of all, coaching, ownership, and just being a part of something that's bigger than just your own team, right? I think it's really smart, and I think it's something that they obviously have the power to do because they are running the org themselves. They can just choose, we want to do this. Maybe, if you're a different org, we have these like academy teams or whatnot for other organizations, but usually those academy teams won't get the coaching of the A team, right? But they can
They'll
just do
scrim
that
against
they
them
want
occasionally, right?
Yeah, exactly. They're like practice partners, and they can ask for tips or inspiration or whatever of how to approach the game. But getting direct coaching from world champions is something else, right? I think they do it in part because they want to, because they love Dota, but they don't want to play right now, and people are taking breaks, and in part for the sake of the org. Is it a good idea? I think so. I think it's cool to have somebody try this and see how it works out. They did have their first tournament. It didn't go great, but obviously that was also very short notice for this. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say. Like, it's unprecedented, right?
So it is unprecedented. I'm really happy for a lot of these players, especially Chessie, who I know has been kind of bouncing around throughout the years, and especially Z-Freak, who I think has been super undervalued. One of the best position fours of all time, in my opinion. He just has never been on a good team, honestly, as crazy as to say. So hoping for the best for these guys, and I think it's a really cool idea. But yeah, we'll see if it works or not. It would be really awkward if OG does not get enough DPC points during the season and they have to play each other for the qualifying spot to TI. Oh boy, that would be awkward. It
would also be awkward if they both make TI, because by Valve rules, you can only attend with one team for your org. So if both teams were to qualify to TI, OG would actually need to sell their B team.
Wow.
If we call them that.
Or they could just give up their spot and go through opens, right?
No.
Would that work?
It doesn't matter.
Oh, it doesn't.
It's about attending TI. It's a measure that Valve are taking to prevent match fixing. Because if you have two teams playing, there was speculation. You remember this TI Alliance were playing against EG, and both teams were owned by Good Game Agency with Alex Garfield. And when that match was played, there was speculation that one team could actually benefit, the org could benefit from one team throwing on purpose for the other one, just losing the game so the other one got a better seeding or better.
I mean, in
whatever.
Theory, yes, but the players would never do that.
It needs to be eliminated. It doesn't matter. It actually, the theory doesn't matter. It just needs to be impossible. So we've had situations with, I think there was maybe LGD had two teams one year. They had LGD and LGD Int. I think there was one TI maybe that was the case, or something like this. And Valve just made hard rules. Like in these DPC tournaments, you can only, or at least TI. I don't know if it's all DPC tournaments, but at TI, you can only have a stake in one team. So,
yep, makes sense.
And obviously
So
Speaks for
this has
itself.
been a big couple weeks for Valve. Even though a lot of people don't consider this that big, I think this is huge. Other than the Dota patch, of course. Steam Remote Play. We talked about that before. I think this is an amazing feature. Essentially, if you guys own a game that supports Steam Remote Play, so a lot of these platformers, like let's say Towerfall Ascension, one of my favorite games, you can just, if you own it, you invite a bunch of your friends on your friend list and you guys can play together as if they all own it. They don't have to. It's an amazing feature that I think is super underutilized right now. Been having a lot of fun with that.
Okay,
Underlords had a... Yes?
Before you go to that, do you think that, like, okay, maybe this is way too... Do you think when you make this kind of decision in terms of profit, like you just said, everybody can play it together with only one player owning it,
Mm-hmm.
how do you gauge as a company that that's worth it? Because that also means that a group of 4 friends that would maybe want to play a game together only need to have one own it. In the case of Towerfall Ascension, it's obvious because if you have one player own it and you're all on LAN, you can play it on LAN. But is this the same logic for all of their titles? That the ones that are available for remote play are the ones that have a LAN feature where one person owning the game means everyone can play it? Is that how it works?
Well, in terms of what games
you
they
could
choose, you
imagine-
mean?
Yeah, because you could imagine that you would lose profit, right? If you're suddenly just letting 4 people play multiplayer in a game, and usually they would all need to buy and own
Right.
the title, and now it's one guy.
For as far as I know, it's only games that do not have. Actually, one of the developers we talked with during the stream, I forget which game it was. They said that they don't have a really big team, and they don't want to worry about netcode related stuff. And if they okayed it, which they did for Steam Remote Play, it means that you don't have to do anything because Valve just does it for you essentially. So if you don't have online capability like a multiplayer, and you can only do local co-op, or even if you don't have co-op, you can still take part.
So it basically takes local multiplayer into online. That's good. That will definitely increase sales, right? Because people will get interested in the game and then they will want to buy it and play it with other friends when the guy who owns it isn't there.
Yep.
That's awesome. Makes a lot of sense. Okay, sorry.
So that's been a lot of fun. You don't even notice any lag. Well, I've been hosting most of the games, but nobody has been lagging as far as I know. Underlords, which we're not really going to talk about because they just come out with huge patch after huge patch. And then the last thing, syndereN, since this has been a big couple weeks for Valve, Half-Life Alyx was announced. The trailer came out. Anyone that owns an index, aka me, will get it for free. Did you watch the trailer? Are you excited?
Yeah, I did. I did actually. I did watch it. It looks.
What do you think about it only being for VR?
We've talked about this before, right? We talked about this in episode 29.
I thought we mentioned it briefly and then we didn't talk about it.
Didn't
Shit.
it got announced. I mean, I think we've talked about it before, but I mean, we can go over it again. I think our conclusion back then was it being like a title like this that I think they want to promote their own technology first and foremost, right? And what we're both expecting could happen down the line is that it gets released on other.
They've sold out, by the way.
Yeah. Because if you imagine that they launched this on all their platforms, the sales of the game would be incredible, right? How many people would play this on PC? But obviously the point for them is to try to promote their new technology, which in the long run, if that becomes a commodity that people want to have, that is way more profitable than a one-off game that people buy on their PC, right? They want people to want to have this index. And I think it makes a lot of sense. It was like the Nintendo Switch comes with Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is considered one of the best games of the last decade. Why didn't they just release this game on PC as well? Well, obviously, it's Nintendo, right? But on their other consoles that people already have, they want people to buy a Switch.
It's not exclusive to Index. You just get it for free if you have one. It still works on just
it's exclusive to all VR systems.
Yeah. Well, any that... I assume it's all of them. I know it's a lot of them.
Okay, they can all run it.
Yeah.
Well, even then, I still think the logic kind of still stands. It's about getting people into the technology, getting them into VR. And then if Valve get people into VR, then they have a new avenue of selling their games, even if it's not on their index. So I still think the argument stands.
And they still have 2 more flagships to come. Logic. Haven't been announced yet, so I'm interested to see if they're going to be same IPs as before, like Portal or something like that, or not.
Portal I will say is such an obvious choice for this.
They actually talked about it in an interview that it sounded like they're not going to do it because it's too disorienting, which I can understand.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
It would be very disorienting. But I will say the nunchucks, the fact that it has like the tracking of your individual fingers makes it At the very least, if you have the nunchucks, you don't have to have the index. You still get it for free, the game itself. I'm excited about Half-Life, man. I don't know if I'm even going to like it because it's VR. I don't know how I like FPS on VR, honestly. I haven't really decided, haven't played enough, but I'm still excited about Half-Life in general. So should be fun. That's going to be coming out, I believe, in March. And the Boneworks, which was made by a different company, is coming out in December, which is very similar to Half-Life. So I'll probably get that and gauge whether I will like it or not. We can probably talk about it then. And then the last thing we'll talk about before we get to one small topic I want to discuss. All these things came out, syndereN, in the last few weeks. You know what didn't? During the anniversary of its launch. Artifact.
What could it possibly be?
No news on Artifact. I am devastated. I mean, I wasn't really expecting anything, but I'm devastated that there's not even a post about it, you know?
Dude,
Such a good game.
I'm with Valve on this. If they're not ready to announce anything, I think it's just salt in the wound to make an announcement. Today is the anniversary of our launch of our least successful game. It's still not ready. Like, why would they do that, dude? Like, what's
Long
the point?
haulers,
of course they're not good.
Rejoice. It
Don't
will
worry,
happen
guys,
one
we're
day.
still like, I don't know. I think not writing anything is definitely the play, to be honest.
Artifact.
I think what Valve does here, if we're assuming they're still working on Artifact because they said they were, right? We haven't heard anything in many, many months by now.
Yeah.
But they will not announce anything with Artifact until they are convinced that the product that they have is really good and ready. Because they cannot handle this to fail again, right?
Hey, just throwing it out there, Valve. I'm available to alpha or beta test, whatever you have, and I will give honest feedback. And I hope that you will not punish me in any way if I'm overly negative. But based on what Artifact was, like, it was, again, not to talk about old things that we've rehashed over, not to beat a dead horse, in other words. The monetization model was 90% of the reason it died. 90%. Easily. It wasn't perfect in other ways, obviously, but it was mostly monetization. And it snowballed to a point of
and
ridiculousness.
The lack of a progress system on launch, I think.
Okay, we can combine them into 90%. That's fine. Yeah. Okay, last topic, syndereN. Did you watch the Cybertruck release for Tesla, Mr. Elon Musk?
I heard about it, but I didn't watch the release, but I heard about it.
So they've been working on this new electric. First of all, their cars are super cool. I've never actually been in one, but they look really awesome. And if I had enough money, I would probably buy one. But alas, Valve hasn't given me enough money yet. You know, all that shilling, not enough. But they've made a pickup truck, and it looks really fucking weird. What do you think of the look, first and foremost?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
It's like something from Blade Runner. There's no soft curves. It's just hard edges. It's like something that you would come up with. Like if you lived in the 60s or the 70s and you asked somebody on the street, what do you think a car would look like in 2030? This is what they would draw. This absolute abomination of a vehicle. It's very polarizing. It's sold out, I'm pretty sure.
Of course it is.
I think it looks awful personally, but it is unique. I will say that. And apparently it runs really well. It beat the shit out of the Ford pickup truck. Not a big fan of pickup trucks, as you might gather, based on being in Arizona. They're the worst. But other than the look, it sounds really awesome. But it is a thing that is polarizing. Do you like the look? What are your general thoughts?
I don't really honestly
give your opinion.
Care that much. It's more I just fucking love the daringness of this. Can I just say that? I love it, man. You know,
I do too.
You're doing something new, you're doing something crazy. This is something, like, I don't know that much about Elon Musk, but if there's one thing that really stands out to me in what I read and what I hear and what I say, is like, or not what I say, what I read and what I hear, is like, he's a fucking mad lad, you know? He's like a mad lad, you know? He has a lot of money. He's a guy who just has some ideas and stuff he wants to happen, and then he makes it happen on his own terms. And I think that's really admirable and really fucking cool.
I'm a big fan of Elon Musk. He's not perfect. He says some stupid things, but he would make the perfect, like, this is like the perfect precursor to a typical superhero villain, right?
Yeah. That's not wrong.
The epitome of that, which I love.
And I just, you know, like, I look at this truck and, like, no matter whether you hate or love it, you can't deny that it's something special and it stands out, right? Like, if you love it, you're going to buy it if you have the money. If you hate it, you're still going to recognize it and you're going to talk about it. And that's going to make more people talk about it, and then more people will buy it.
They missed a great opportunity, though. They should have called it the Cyber Nigma. That would have been just perfect to go along with the look.
Then even more people would have talked about it. The launch in the US would have gone great too.
So to give you guys an idea of, it was supposed to be like this indestructible type vehicle, right? It has a lot of horsepower. It's electric, which makes it really fit in with the newer age. But they did a demonstration on stage, Cinder. I don't know if you watched this. They had like a sledgehammer and they pounded the door. It had no effect, which was awesome. And then they threw like this little metal object at the window, and the window broke. And Elon Musk is like, holy fuck, shit. He's panicking. So then the guy that threw it is like, we'll just do it again to the other window. They did it again, and the other window broke as well. By breaking, it didn't go through, but you can see the shatter point. So they were very embarrassed by that. And I heard, I don't know if this is actually true, that his net worth dropped quite a bit as a result of this. But it was still, I think, a success overall, because a lot of people were talking about it. They figured out what was wrong, because they had obviously tested the window like before the show even. They even had video of it, and it worked. It's because of the sledgehammer dislodged something on the door, and then they threw something in the window and it broke. So, quote unquote, will be fixed. It's a beta test, of course, the Cybertruck. But no, I agree. Other than the look, like the look is whatever. I can understand why they would do something crazy like that, you know, and I can respect it. I will never buy it because of the look, but that's another. It probably saves cost, though, if you think about it, because there's no, you don't have to round anything
Sharp
out.
edges is less material. There's less surface area.
Very smart.
Very mathematical.
I think, I want to say the cheapest is $35K off the top of my head. I actually didn't write that down, but relatively cheap for what it is, right? I mean, that's not something I could ever afford, but...
All right. I have a question for you about this car, and then we can be done.
Yes.
What is your first impression? There's a person you've never met before in your life, and you're going to meet them in the city, and they come out of this car. What's your impression? Like, what kind of person do you think they are?
Douche.
I mean, that matters, right? Like, obviously, it shows something about how you think, right?
I mean, it shows that they care a lot. No, okay, let me rephrase this. A normal pickup truck, this is going to offend a lot of people, but I've had some issues with pickup trucks in Arizona. The first thought in my head when you get out of a normal pickup truck is douche. It doesn't mean you are a douche. That's just my impression, because on the road, the person cutting me off it seems to always be a fucking pickup truck. This one is going to be better because it's electric. At least they're saving the environment.
Because when it cuts you off, it literally cuts you.
Yeah, it gives you the paper cuts like none other. Holy shit. But the first reaction would be they care too much about how they look, I think. It's like somebody coming out of a Lamborghini. I think the same thing. They're
Well, you put them on the same tier.
No, not the same tier, but it's the same idea. Different levels, okay?
Okay.
But I don't think that of a normal Tesla. It's just because the look is so weird, you know? That's just I mean, here's another example. I don't remember what the cars are called. There's one of them is the Scion, actually. There's two cars. They might just be US based. I don't know. They are like cubes. I think this is going to, again, offend some people. The ugliest cars I've ever seen. I don't know why you would ever want to drive it.
How do I spell it? Z-I-O-N?
S-C-I-O-N, I believe.
S-Z...
S-C.
Oh, S-C-I-O-N. Car.
It's a cube. You're just driving around in a goddamn... there's another car called the Cube.
What the fuck is this?
It's horrible. It's atrocious.
You're driving in a food box.
Yeah, exactly. I don't understand.
And some of them... Wait, some of the models look okay. It's just some of them that look stupid.
Anyway, I hate those.
Oh, maybe it's a different brand that has a sub car called Scion. But is it the brand? Is it the Toyota Scion you're talking about?
Yes, the Toyota Scion.
Okay, because there's another one look okay.
There's another one that might be called the Cube, maybe. But either way, not a fan of these crazy looking cars personally. Like you're driving around in a goddamn box. Like how does anyway. To each their own. Everyone has their own taste. That's what makes the world great. You know? Yeah. Some people love tomatoes, other people vomit at the side of them. So it's just the way of life.
That's a very extreme reaction. I've not heard of that before.
I'm sure somebody exists that vomits at the sight of tomatoes. They probably have a real hard time though. Okay, that is the end of the episode, Cinder. Have you watched In Bruges or Joker?
No.
Will you ever watch these movies?
Maybe. But I don't know what has more value now, having you ask me every week or watching a good movie.
People are
They're
sick
both
of
pretty
this.
satisfying.
People are sick of the end of these episodes. Honestly, it's rehashed material. They
How
don't
about
hear it anymore.
ask it in the start then?
Switch
Spice
it up, in the
Just
middle of the episode.
Random time in the episode. Speaking of this change to Dota, have you watched it?
We'll get the same algorithm that's used for the neutral items, and we'll add it to when I ask the question during an episode. How does that sound? By the way, strong recommendation for those out there that like TV shows to watch Watchmen. The first episode sucks ass, so just get through that one. Really good show. The more you watch it, the better it is. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Until next time, SUNSfan, thanks for listening as well. Remember, guys, forgot my spiel. You can catch an episode of We Say Things live every Tuesday at 1 a.m. PST, 10 CET on twitch.tv/SUNSFanTV. Need to rewrite that so there's not so many goddamn TVs in there. If you missed it live, don't fret, because it'll be uploaded to Dota Cinema's YouTube channel, syndereN. It's available via audio on all audio apps. Believe it or not, it is available on Spotify. Stop asking. Check sunsfan.gg/podcast for the full extensive list. Goodbye, friends. We'll see you during our cast for the WePlay. We say things. We play whatever their name is. We play. Dude,
I mean, we say things,
channel,
though.
We have We Say Things, there's WePlay, and we had a YouTube channel called WePlay Stuff. So it gets jumbled in my head. But that channel died a long time ago. Okay, goodbye, guys. Sorry. We say things that don't mean anything, but thanks for listening. Yeah.